Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
Morning, everyone. It is Monday, June 17th, 2024. My name is John Pieranunzi, and this is the opening swing. Let's begin today, as we always do, with our news. Coming out of Europe, Europe is slightly higher, about 0.5%. Not really a lot of news coming out of Europe. We had the Spanish balance of trade. ECB's Lagarde spoke. We also had Guindos speaking from the ECB, but overall pretty light out for any data coming out of Europe. As I said, up about 0.5%. Coming into the U.S. hours, our 8:30 news driver is Empire State Manufacturing, which is obviously a regional manufacturing index. Not a huge deal. So overall pretty light on the news today. After that, we have a few short-term auctions, and then we do have Harker speaking at 1 o'clock. News gets a little bit busier tomorrow with retail sales and industrial production. Wednesday is Juneteenth. It's a holiday. And then into the end of the week, it gets busier again. Jobless claims and housing starts and some PMIs and home numbers. So it gets a little bit busier after we get through the holiday into the end of the week. Let's take a look at some charts. This is our weekly chart of the S&Ps. So the first thing to talk about with S&Ps is we have rolled. We're no longer talking about the June contract. We were talking about the SEP contract. That is, we're moving from using the letters M to U. However, traders don't say M or U. Say June or SEP. That's what we say. June or SEP, not M or U. June SEP. June SEP is a spread, 3-month spread. But anyway, on this weekly chart, what we see is that the bullishness is kind of resumed. You know, I talked a lot about this kind of bullish push, how bullish the weekly chart was here. We had a bit of a retracement, and now we have just resumed higher. So this prior week finished in price discovery higher above the week before that's range. So, and we also expanded the range of this candle expanded. So that's bullish to me. Like, it's even more bullish than if you see, like, looking here, we had this candle that expanded range higher, and then this settlement was also above the prior week, but it was a very small candle. Here it's like we pushed and we were able to the buyers were able to cover a pretty good amount of ground. So that's pretty bullish in my book. Let's take a look at the daily just very quickly. Daily is a little bit more muted. We've started to see some overlapping bars, and we are actually one time framing lower on the daily because we've put in we've put in 2 days of lower highs, but however this week today we've already tested the high, so that's at least been nullified on the full session. These are full session bars, of course. Excuse me. But anyway, the key that I'm seeing on the daily chart is, as I've said, it's a little bit more muted, still a very bullish environment, but we're starting to see overlapping bars, and we're seeing price balance out a little bit. What I'm keeping my eye on, though, let me get the right color here. What I'm kind of keeping my eye on, and probably a lot of people are as well, is we have this low right here. Actually, I'll use another color. Let me get rid of that. Is we have this low right here. We have this low that tested through. And so what I'm really looking at is if this, I'm not even drawing this correctly, if this low holds, we could potentially be seeing a 3-bar fractal low. So that's what I'm keeping an eye on. If yesterday's full session low holds, then we could see that 3-bar fractal low, which will just be something that I'll be paying attention to. We've already taken the high, so we're coming into this week pretty bullish. Let's take a look at the 2-hour chart and discuss further. Here we are on the 2-hour chart. I'll change my colors. And we'll just zoom out a bit. We get a really nice view of the upward of the price discovery higher here, where we put in a we put in a low, and then we see the strong move off the low from the buyers and just impulse, balance, continue, balance, continue, and here we are again in a balanced area. We talked a lot about this break, how we had the kind of break and grind, and now here we are again. So what can we say about this area on this chart? Really, I want to, let me change this here, get a little bit better picture. And so for reference also, I want to mention these pink lines that we see right there. Those are the full session breaks of each day, and these blue lines are the weekly breaks. So this is 1 week, and then as you can see, this was the end of last week, and this is what we got so far for this week, just beginning. But what we see here, this 81 and 81 3/4, this was on the prior expiration, the June expiration. This was the 17 quarters, which is an area that I talked about on the way up. It was an offer, it was retested and became a floor, then we tested through, but still rejected. And then on Friday, we pushed a little bit lower. So we are seeing that there is supply available up here because we're starting to push lower prices, and we were able to extend this low. However, we continually find support and revert higher. Notice this profile right here. A very balanced distribution. So for those of you like me that use auction market theory, you're expecting, you're seeing that these prices are support. These prices have been rejected by buyers, and then you're seeing that these prices up here have been rejected by sellers. So we're in this range, and we're waiting to see what happens next. And for me, like I said, we see this low. This low is put in. This test below. We're looking at rejection. So the big things that we're going to be looking for me is we've already taken the prior day's high. So I'm expecting this low to hold, and I'm mostly expecting some upward excursion today. Let's go to our trigger chart and talk about that a little bit further. Grab this. Okay, here we are. So let's talk about what areas are important today. So we have our existing overnight high. We have this band of resistance just above. We have our prior week's high / all-time high. And above this is just our one volatility up area, but I'm going to be aware of the 25 to 30 area just based on the auction strike. And above this one should actually be up at the 50 for the option strike above there. And I just mark those just to be aware, just because there's nothing else that until these prices have been traded, we really don't know what's going on up there, in my opinion. But so 25s to 30s, and then I'm just aware of the 50s. Not that I'm expecting that us to trade there today, but again, as I always say, the unexpected happens. Below we have the naked VPOC from Friday, which is right here in the 87 region. We have our 81s, which I just discussed, and then we have the prior low. Below here, we have our balance lows of 62s. And then we have our prior week's high down here at the 54.5 and our CPI SOC and our gap close for the 612 gap. So these areas are important. All right, what is happening in the price action? We see a very grinding trend higher, a very tight grinding trend higher going on. So guys, for me, I'm looking at this. There's two main buckets of what could happen here. Either A, this general uptrend could hold, and that could hold. We'll go over the ways that could hold. Okay, the first and most bullish way it could hold is if this overnight low holds and we just see a continued kind of grind higher. If this overnight low holds, I would probably expect, well, we could get the grind that just kind of grinds higher. My targets would be the 15s first and then the 19s for the prior week's high. Fairly, it's rollover week, so my expectations this week are also going to be pretty conservative. But we could just get kind of a grind up through here that holds this overnight low, starts to hold like the full session VWAP. We get the RTH open. We eventually start to hold RTH levels. We just grind up. We get the 15s. We continue, take the 19s, and we just get these shallow pullbacks. And if we get some action like this, my target would be the 19s. Again, as I always do, this action would be vulnerable to a impulse lower that then cannot get the prior high and continues lower through through and continues lower through the low to targets below. So that is action that we are always aware of when we see this. But anyway, just to reiterate, this is the most bullish kind of just trend up action we could see that would just hold this. I think that's a little bit less likely because I think that we would tend to get either a grind. If it starts to grind like that, I think that we'd get a quick repricing that would either push up above the 15s or potentially above the 19s and just reprice higher. Like we have this trend going and then we just push above, reprice, and then the grind kind of resumes from higher prices. That's a possibility for price action we could see. Or so those are the, but so let me make sure I mention this correctly. So we could either get the grind out of bullish scenarios. We could get the grind that holds sort of the action we've had into our 15s and 19s, or we could get the repricing that then holds just the grind at a higher price. The third bullish possibility that we could get, and I think that this would probably be the best, like the most tradable bullish idea, but if this overnight low does not hold and instead we get a break lower through the overnight low, tests Friday's VPOC, maybe peaks below Friday's VPOC, but holds these 81s, or at worst tests through and reverts. But really the 81s are a key. So we'd either be looking for a hold at 81s or a test through and revert that then gets back above yesterday's VPOC and gives us a trade into settlement. That would be the best trade if we got something like that. I'll repeat it again because sometimes those things happen. So we have the bullish grind that is not so great for anybody into the 15s and 19s. That's this idea. Or we could get the repricing above the 15s or above the 19s that then grinds. That's that. Or we could get what might be the more tradable scenario, which is some type of an early test lower into or below the prior VPOC, then either A holds above the 81s or tests through and reverts higher above prior VPOC. And then above prior VPOC, that tells us that we're green lighted to trade for settlement or century. That would be the most tradable situation on the long side. Quickly, let's discuss what happens if we instead go short. I already described the most important short idea, which would be, and it could happen here, if the overnight high holds and we get some of that type of action that I mentioned earlier, where it would be using this high, we get a failure to get that high, and instead we get an impulse lower. And this could happen, like I said, this could happen and be part of the bullish scenario that takes out this low, takes the naked VPOC, tests into this area, maybe reverts above, and that could become the bullish idea I just mentioned. But really, what I'm talking about is the action that if we get some type of a grind, again, that looks like it's holding one of these, but then breaks, looks like it's holding, breaks this uptrend line, makes an attempt higher, fails to get this high, likely hits trouble in between this area, gives us one of those, failure to get the high, and then resumes lower. If we get that action anywhere then we're looking for the test below, which, like I said, the naked VPOC, the 81s, and if we get below there, the RTH low, but really, I'm not expecting us to take the RTH low. My expectation, like I said, so those are, yeah, that would be any bearishness out of here would come with this action happening somewhere, like a high made, a stronger push lower, a failure to get that high, and then we would look for potentially price to unwind a little bit lower. But like I said, my primary expectation really is some type of just a grind higher, and I think it's most likely, unfortunately, going to be one of the ideas I had initially, which is just kind of a grind up that takes the 15s, takes the 19s, or maybe we get a repricing above the 15s that then grinds from above the 15s into the 25s to 30s. Those are unfortunately my two. Those are my two most likely ideas, and maybe we get lucky and we get the pull back to a logical place that then gives us a trade higher. Maybe we get that. I'm not expecting the low to be taken today. I'm not expecting yesterday's low to be taken. Although, like I always say, if it does get taken, it would potentially be a better trade. Just for completion, I'll mention that obviously, if the low gets taken, if yesterday's low gets taken, how would we handicap that? Well, we have this 62 half low, and then we have the 73s, which is the prior low. So if we break the low, let me see here. So if we break this low, obviously my initial expectation on a break of the low would be support and reversion higher, probably back to at least the 80s, and then maybe continuation higher. However, if we do not get, and when I say support, I would mean support above the 62s. If we break the 73s, my primary expectation would be support above these 62s. If we don't have support at the 73s, then I would still expect support just below the 62s. Why? Because then that would completely match with the prior action we've had where we've broken prior lows and quickly found support and gotten back above. So if somehow we break the 62s today, my primary expectation would be support back above, back to the 73s and potentially 81s if we get a break of 62s today. I'm not expecting a break of 62s today, but it could happen. If I'm wrong on that and we break the 62s and we do not reject, then we're looking for the 56s, 54s, 56s, prior week's high. And if that fails, we're looking for the gap close in the mid-century 50s region. I'm not expecting, like I said, I'm not expecting a lot of excursion below the 62s today. I'm just mentioning it for completion because the way that I like to do things is I like to go over all the possibilities and visualize them. So if they happen, I'm ready. But anyway, that's what I got for you today. I hope it's complete. FYI, my expectations today and really this week are a little bit more muted, a little bit more conservative. It's there's not a lot of data today. It's rollover week. We have quad witching at the end of the week. It's summertime is upon us, so this is a time where I know that I expect that the opportunity might be a little bit less. Might be days that you have to be a little bit more patient, wait for one or two good opportunities rather than three or four. However, that's how I approach it. So I'm just sharing that with you guys. Hopefully it helps. That's what I got for you today. I'm going to cut it off here because, again, I'm long like I am every day. Maybe we'll get better at that. But I hope everyone's having a wonderful morning in progress. I hope that today you can improve your trading somehow. And I hope that maybe I said something that could help with that. That would be great. And of course, I hope that you can make someone else smile today because really that's the most important thing. That's what I got for you today. I hope everyone has a great day, and I'll see you here tomorrow. Bye-bye.